The U.S. denies visas of thousands of Chinese international students every year. U.S. congressman introduces new bill aimed at China's allies. Leaked documents reveal Taiwan's weak air defense against China. Germany's response after China demands its support for peaceful Taiwan reunification. As reported by Forbes, since 2020, the U.S. has carried out a strict inspection on Chinese students. As a result, at least 1,000 Chinese international students are denied visas annually. Most of those rejected are graduates from the so-called Seven Sons of National Defense of the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. The Seven Sons of National Defense refers to 7 Chinese national public research universities affiliated with and funded by China's Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, Beijing Institute of Technology, Beihang University, Nanjing University of Science and Technology, Nanjing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, Harbin Institute of Technology, Harbin Engineering University, and Northwestern Polytechnical University. According to the reports, those denied visas were all international students coming to the U.S. to study for masters and PhDs. There were no university students. The U.S. Department of State has released data that in 2021, 1,900 Chinese students' visa applications were denied. However, the 2022 figure is yet to be released. Students related to these 7 universities intended to study abroad at state-funded public expense find it difficult to get a U.S. student visa. In addition, students studying in the U.S. may have their visas revoked after returning to China to revisit relatives. Forbes mentioned a Chinese student named Tian, pseudonym, who graduated with a bachelor's degree from Beihang University. She went to the U.S. to study in 2018. She got a master's degree in statistics in 2022, then studied for a PhD in artificial intelligence in transportation. She could have stayed in the U.S. and maintained her status. However, she returned to China in early March this year because she hadn't visited her family for many years. Unfortunately, her application was refused when reapplying for a visa at the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. Since Tian could not return to the U.S. to continue her PhD studies, instead of looking for a lawyer to solve the problem, she asked her school for permission to study remotely, and the school agreed. However, distance and face-to-face learning are entirely different for a student majoring in AI. As a result, she could only practice a few things in her major directly. Another Chinese international student who graduated with a master's degree at Harbin Institute of Technology returned to China to teach after completing his PhD in the U.S. He then wanted to reapply for a visa to further study in the U.S., but was also refused.
On April 6, a group of U.S. representatives led by Andy Olges introduced a new bill named Defund China's Allies Act to defund certain countries that do not recognize the sovereignty of Taiwan. According to Ogles, $800 million is the amount the U.S. provides to 21 countries to keep them away from the Chinese Communist Party. However, these countries' governments have turned away from Taiwan and befriended the CCP. The 21 countries listed in the bill are Honduras, Nicaragua, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Cuba, Bahamas, Barbados, Jamaica, Trinidad and Tobago, Panama, Costa Rica, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Bolivia, Uruguay, Guyana, Suriname, Venezuela, Solomon Islands, and Kiribati. According to Taiwan News, a passage in the bill says, given the proximity of these countries to the United States, the switch in political allegiance represents a tangible threat to the United States' national security interests and must be confronted. The bill views the U.S.'s adherence to the One China policy, which is dictated by the CCP, as incomprehensible to understand. The bill also called for the U.S. to establish diplomatic relations with Taiwan and help Taiwan participate in total and unmitigated international community membership. A disclosed document from the Pentagon reveals inconvenient facts about Taiwan's ability to withstand Chinese air attacks. As the Washington Post reported on April 15th, Taiwanese officials are afraid that the self-ruling island would be unable to detect Chinese missile launches precisely. In addition, they were concerned that only a little more than half of Taiwan's planes could fly, and moving them to safe places is expected to take at least a week. Meanwhile, Pentagon officials cast doubts on Taiwan's plan to shoot 2 air defense missiles at each target. Instead, they believe China's short-range ballistic missile system could overwhelm them through high-volume fires. The Pentagon's Joint Staff Intelligence Directorate worries that Taiwan's air defense units can't grasp the locations of enemy units. They also don't have compatible secure radios and no clear assignment of objectives, raising the risk of multiple units firing at the same target. The leaked documents also highlighted China's space strategy. To counter U.S. intervention, it plans to move anti-satellite missile launchers and lasers, which Beijing believes can obstruct, disrupt, and delay the process. One assessment predicts that China will try to use its space capabilities to cut the U.S. off from supplying useful intelligence. It may also use satellites for long-range attacks on U.S. ships, subs, and jets scattered across the Pacific. Also of concern is that the U.S. might be unable to foresee Chinese preparations for an actual war. The assessments warn that China's growing military activity around Taiwan is blurring the intelligence community's ability to tell what is expected from what is escalating, increasing the chance of accidents and mistakes. But then, there is also the presence of civilian ships and improving the speed of China's military operations. One of the documents said that China would struggle to fuel its landing brigade for an amphibious attack, giving the U.S. and Taiwan a chance to stop an invasion early. The best option would be to seize the port of Taipei, but the paper said neither Beijing nor Taipei had prepared for that.
China's top diplomat has asked Germany to support a peaceful conquest of Taiwan. However, the German foreign minister said it is unacceptable. Reuters reported on April 15th that Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi met senior German diplomat Annalena Baerbock when she visited China. During the meeting, Wang made the remarks and said that China once supported Germany's reunification. Wang also reckoned that Taiwan's return to China was a crucial part of the post-World War II international order, and that it was imperative to vehemently resist separatist actions relating to Taiwan independence to maintain stability in the Taiwan Strait. Baerbock rejected the idea, saying in Beijing that a military conflict in the Taiwan Strait, through which 50% of daily global trade passes, would be a nightmare scenario for the entire world. She said, "The shockwave of such a world economic crisis would also hit China and Germany as special trading nations. We are therefore watching the increasing tensions in the Taiwan Strait with great concern." She added, "A unilateral and violent change in the status quo would not be acceptable to us as Europeans. It occurs as Western European countries minimize their support for the island nation." Last week, Emmanuel Macron publicly stated that the European Union should lessen its reliance on the United States and avoid involvement in any further disputes with China about Taiwan. In what appears to be a bid to capitalize on this sentiment, Wang has now advised the German delegation led by Baerbock to give up any support for Taiwanese independence, and instead support China's efforts for the peaceful conquest of Taiwan. However, it seems that Wang failed to persuade her to do so.